One thing I want to talk about here, while you're changing these powers, another thing you want to change possibly is the mounting height. If this were not an office space, if this were a warehouse or manufacturing or outdoors, it's not going to be at the standard 8-foot height. So you can change the mounting height here, and that's going to help change the visualizations. Because if you move that AP very high, you may need to turn those power settings up a little bit because of the distance from the AP to the floor where somebody's going to be standing. Now, it means if somebody's on a forklift and they raise the lift all the way up, then it's going to be stronger for them, but you still need for it to work for someone who's standing on the floor. You can also do what Kevin just did and change the mounting point to mounting on the wall. Sometimes you have to shoot your signal in between racks in a warehouse or around machinery, or to focus the coverage in one direction or another. If you're mounting an AP in every room, for example, in K through 12, you may want to focus the energy in different directions to help you with your channel plan. And you can even mount on the floor or underneath. Sometimes people will have a raised floor, and you can put them underneath the floor just to cover that room if you're really trying to use the walls to help contain the signal rather than using the signal to fight against the walls. Because it's all about providing the coverage and the signal strengths needed for each requirement area. So being able to move the AP around in the design tool is really helping you to model what you would normally do in a live environment. And one thing I like to do, if it's a dual band AP, at this point, once I've got my radios set the way I want them to be, I like to turn the 2.4 radio off and then choose my visualization just for 5 gigahertz and make a solid 5 gigahertz plan, and then come back in and just turn on only the 2.4 radios that I think I need for coverage. So this is a good place to kind of start thinking about what you want to do in both bands, because you probably don't need 2.4 everywhere. I think, is that AP a dual 5 AP, sir?
No, it's not.
Okay.
We do not have a dual 5 today.
Okay. So turn it off. And making dual 5 out of one AP is fairly challenging. You have to make sure that the channel sets that you're using on each radio are at least 120 megahertz separated, or else you're going to start having EMI from the radios inside the same AP. So it's just challenging. There's the area tool where you can draw. And if it is a multi-story building, in addition to drawing your coverage areas, the tool in between the AP and the area tool Kevin just selected is an alignment tool. And when you are dealing with a multi-story building deployment, you need to choose alignment points that are not the corner of the building. I like to choose the elevator shaft, because unless you're in Willy Wonka, the elevator only goes straight up and down. So that's a nice straight up and down place. The elevator shaft is good. Stairwells are good. As long as whatever you choose is represented on all 3 floors or 4 floors or 5 floors, or how many you have. And you can have, sometimes you'll have buildings that will go up so many floors and it's asymmetric, where only the first 10 floors exist identical, and then half the building will continue going up and the other half does not. So you would choose an additional 3 reference points on floor 10 and use those same 3 reference points as you continue to go up in the building. But that's getting really into a complex design where you may be working with a team. One good thing on very large deployments, and Kevin, you may have worked on some of these I have, where you have multiple people doing the physical survey. And what you can do is you'll all do the surveys, and then you can export those and someone else can import them and add them to one big survey. So you don't have to spend a month walking through one building by yourself. Now that's a big, big plus. And if you draw around the areas, if you wouldn't mind, just grab the area tool.
Go ahead.
Just draw. Oh, go ahead. Okay, great.
Oh,
so
go ahead.
I'll just grab a tool here, and I'll start drawing around the area. You can zoom in and trace over the walls. This is not a click and drag. It's a click, move, click. So I'll do this and see, it kind of starts filling in where it thinks you want to go. So you've got to be careful to choose, good spots here. And for this, I don't have to be quite so accurate as I do with the walls. So I'm just going to right across this and not even bother with that little outlet there at all, because RF is going to propagate in that little area anyway. So it's not as big a deal. Now I would not do that right across here because that's a big area. So I would only do that in small areas where I don't have to worry about being quite so accurate, because it'll just be faster for you. Like this one, I'll do the same thing here. I'll just come across here. And the visual, well, that one, somebody might want to know what about that corner. So that's a pretty big gap. So maybe I'll come in and actually try to draw that. And you can turn on and off the snap to. I think this is set to snap to for some reason. I'll just keep going around here. You guys get the idea. I'm just going to draw around this because we need to define, coverage areas. This area may have different requirements than, say, another part of the building. And this is not exactly over, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly what's there. And I'll right click and free it up. So now we've got the area roughly where we want Wi-Fi. Now, once you've got your requirement areas drawn out, you can start placing that AP on here, and you're not going to see the coverage bleed everywhere like we did before.